For today's presentation, I have a couple of verses from Bhakti Yoga. This is chapter 12 in the Gita. The verses are 13 and 14. Bhakti Yoga talks about devotion. It comes from bhakti. The word bhakti comes from the root word bhaj. Bhaj means to serve, to choose, to associate, to enjoy, to be attached to the Supreme Source. Bhakti Yoga is a small chapter. It has 20 verses and describes extensively about the characteristics of a devotee. There are about 35 gunas, characteristics of this devotee, and about 7 verses describe. The chapter glorifies love, and many other religions also talk about how love is the only way to get to the Supreme Source. So how does one behave when one attains, one gets God? In other words, an enlightened person. In the end of the chapter in the Gita, the Lord says this is Dharmyamrutam. This is the best of the dharmas. This is the nectar of dharmas. This is how one should be living in love. And as I said, this is common to all the religions. Gita does not talk about what a bhakta does. It does not talk about the rituals. It does not talk about how one has to pray, whether one goes to the temple or rituals to follow. Doesn't matter. In fact, in the 9th chapter, he says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam. Doesn't matter what you give me. It talks about the internal transformation of the devotee. Gita does not discourage us from going to the temple and doing things, but what are the results? What's happening? What are the outcomes of what all you're doing in your life? Are emotions still getting the best of you, or are you evolving? So to describe this, I picked 13 and 14. Adveshta sarva bhutanam maitraha karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankaraha samadukha sukha kshami santushtaha satatam yogi yatatma drudha nischayaha mayarpita mano buddhihi yomad bhakta same priyaha. The Lord says, he who hates no creature, hates nobody, friendly and kind to all, and free from attachment, free from arrogance, balanced in pain and pleasure, and forgiving. Okay? Ever content. The second verse says, ever content and contemplative, self-controlled, firm in conviction, with mind and intellect dedicated to me. Krishna says, my devotee, that is my devotee, and he is dear to me. When we talk about Krishna here, it's not the incarnation, the human form we are talking about. We're talking about the God consciousness. So what is he saying? Adveshta sarva bhutana. He who hates no creature. That is the first description of bhakta. a devotee, first description, the Lord didn't say what a devotee does. He says what a devotee does not do. Very, very powerful. Love everybody sounds so, like, how can you be loving everybody? You don't even know, you didn't meet somebody, in other countries, wherever. But we can all identify with the concept of hate, an intense dislike. We can relate to this emotion. In order to be able to love anybody and everybody, first we should absolutely hate nobody. It's an extremely important point that Krishna makes. Only without hate we can aspire to a total state of love, to be in God consciousness. A realized person identifying with the divine, that is, experiencing the divinity, cannot hate. Cannot hate and doesn't hate even when he is harmed, even when he is injured, even when he is done wrong. As I said, these characteristics are unique not only to Sanatana Dharma but all the other religions also. The saints seem to have these characteristics. If you remember, Christ said, "Father, forgive them, but they do not know what they are doing," even as he was being killed on the cross. So what are the reasons we have hate? Okay. We seem to be hating sometimes when we seem to think that others are making us unhappy. For example, when we are harmed, somebody, either by a person or a group that has harmed us, okay? Sometimes it may be one person, but we may end up generalizing it and hurt a group and hate a group of people. For example, somebody from a particular family hurt us, we might generalize and say, "I hate that whole family." Sometimes you see young kids breaking up in love, ending up hating not only the girlfriend but a group of all other women. So it can be generalized also. It can be from anger that I didn't get it my way. He or she did not behave as I want him or her to behave. It could also be related to this emotion of jealousy. I did not, I don't have it, somebody else has it, and I am not happy, and I hate that somebody else is better than I am. It can be from the fear of unknown. Sometimes we are hating people just because they are different, because there might be a degree of paranoia. So, what are the effects of hatred? What happens when we hate somebody? It diminishes us. It's harmful to our health. It increases blood pressure, reduces our sleep, reduces our immunity, on and on and on. It affects us in many ways in all our lives, in our relationships. We are so consumed with our hate, sometimes we forget to enjoy the love we have in our life, the other good aspects we have in our lives. And we are spending time, when we hate somebody, we are spending time with them in our mind all the time instead of enjoying life. So hate is a very tamasic type of activity where we are harming ourselves and we would like to harm the other person also. So how do we deal with hate? First of all, we need to understand the root cause and understand the harmful effects that it can cause us. And we need to learn to let go. We need to learn to not react to provocations, accepting what we cannot control, and sometimes changing the value system. For example, we might think such and such thing is not right and we may hate it. But when we look deep into it, we could say, is this really that bad? Do I have to, invest so much of my emotion into it, or let it go? That can happen. And changing is not easy. Very, very, very difficult. But it can be done. Is changing painful, difficult? Yes. Not changing, is it painful and difficult? Yes. So when we see that and we say, I would rather go through the difficulty of changing for the better and do it with discipline, we can change. You may want to think about somebody that you're not happy with right now in your life and see if you can think about this concept and say, is it worth it? This feeling, intense dislike, hatred I have for this person, or is it best to let go and not hurt myself? The next thing the Lord says are friendly and kind. Friendly, kind. Kind is also compassionate. Maitra, karuna. They go hand in hand. When we are talking about compassion, the first thing we need to learn to do I covered this when I was covering compassion, learn to be compassionate to ourselves. FLY, some people use this. First, love yourself. If you learn to be kind to yourself, friendly to yourself, love yourself, you can then extend it to the rest of the world. So one of the things that people think about friendliness, compassion, kindness as nature, innate nature, that's her quality, his quality. But it is encouraged to look at them as skills. Skills we can develop, we can change, we can acquire. Okay? Whether it is with the people we have met for the first time, or people that are already in our lives, having a little smile when we approach people. So developing these people skills, it's an attitudinal change, shift. Making eye contact with people, showing interest in other people. And with people in our lives, doing things like spending time with them, including them in our lives, helping, becoming helping, giving type of person. In other words, trying to get out of our comfort zone, trying to reach out, right? And how do we get into this attitude of kindness? Make it a habit to do something kind every day to somebody, for somebody. And another thing is not only to people who are good to you, but even annoying to you. That is even more important. That improves the skill of being kind even more. When we are able to be more tolerant and more kind to people whom we see as being annoying. The bottom line is, the more we try, the more we become. Transform. That becomes the attitude of us. And the more we give, the more we get. The more we give, the more happy we are. Okay? Now, the next characteristic the Lord talks about is nirmama, freedom from mindness. That's called mamakara in Sanskrit. Nothing in this world belongs to me. Awareness that nothing in this world really belongs to me. We come with nothing and we go back with nothing. Very profound awareness. Even this body, which we say, this is me, my body. Yesterday I ate whatever, rice, sabzi, all that has become me today. Tomorrow it would be something else. So it keeps changing. Even this body that we think is ours is not ours or not constant. And this body that houses me also houses trillions of other microbes. It's estimated that our body has about, I think, 10 trillion cells. And we have 10 times that number of microbes in our body. 100 trillions, estimate. So what I think is mine is also thought about by other microbes that it is theirs. Profound awareness. When we realize this is all temporary, this is not permanent, it gives us freedom. Related to that is nirahankara. Nirahankara is freedom from arrogance. When we identify with this body and this world, we get into this aham, ahamkara. Ahamkara is, don't be with ahamkara is what the Lord is talking about. Ahamkara is an insulting way of thinking, insulting way of putting down people or behaving and believing that I am better. It's such a human weakness. We want to feel we are better than the others. We are more important than others. There is this strong, inflated pride, overbearing pride with us, have an aura around us. Ahamkara is not the same as confidence. Ahamkara is, there is no regard for feelings of other people. And this could be as basic as interrupting conversations, interrupting other people's lives, advising them without asking, or it can take the pleasure to the other extreme where it can be taking pleasure in others' plight. A devotee who realizes that the essence is the same in all of us. This body is just a temporary outfit we are wearing. It comes and it goes. But the essence is the same. That we may look different outside, but we are the same inside. Outside is temporary. That would help this devotee be humble. And he realizes he cannot hurt others without hurting himself. In our day-to-day life, how do we subdue this ego? One of the things that we have an attitude of I know it all type of attitude. So it's recommended that to reduce that attitude, to be humble. Try to reduce judgment, She's not as good, I am better. He's not as good, I am better. Or they do things that I don't condone, so I am better. So concentrating and cultivating this attitude of how I can improve myself. Let them live their lives, let them do their things, let me improve myself. This is one time that we should be looking into ourselves. The next thing that the Lord talks about is sama dukkha sukhaha. Balanced no matter what we have, what we get. This happens when we grow out of the need to be happy only when the world goes according to what we want it to be, how we plan it to be. When we can let go of that desire, that need, we can start being more and more in samatvam, equanimity, being able to face whatever comes our way with equanimity. That is called karma yoga. That is where we are grateful, gratitude, prasada buddhi. Whatever comes our way, we can face it. Because we can be assured that the world is going to throw things at us. Things would be happening. And sometimes we like them, sometimes we don't like them. But how is our attitude? How are we facing them? When we learn this skill, slowly the value system also starts changing. That's another interesting thing that happens. What we thought was a very bad thing, when we say, is it really that bad? You see? So we can start looking at things differently too. Like I sent somebody a gift. I would expect them to send a thank you note. They don't send. I'm making myself miserable for somebody else's, inaction. How wise is that? You see? It would be nice if I get a thank you note, but even if I don't get, I did it for my pleasure, let go. You see? That doesn't mean we shouldn't be teaching our kids manners and what to do. Somebody sends them a birthday gift, to send a thank you note. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is about our expectations, what we see as this or that. Is that really true? Looking into it and then trying not to make ourselves miserable for somebody else's actions or inactions. The last thing that the Lord talks about is kshami, forgiving. It is said that love liberates us and forgiveness frees us. This is emphasized in all religions. Because, as I said, it gives freedom. It avoids developing hatred, developing anger, which are very, very damaging emotions. If somebody is hurting us, okay, first time, yeah, we react. But if we keep it in our head and hurt ourselves again and again, thinking about what they did and how they harmed us and how they've done us wrong, we are hurting ourselves, as I said, for their misdeeds, punishing ourselves for others' actions. And forgiving is not an occasional act. It should be an attitudinal shift. It's a continuous way of looking at things, is what Martin Luther King did. And this is exemplified by Nelson Mandela. You might have heard about him from South Africa. He was jailed for 27 years and was very, very mistreated. It is said that when he was in jail, the jail guards would ask him to dig a grave and ask him to get into the grave, and then they would all get around that grave and urinate on him. He was so mistreated. After 27 years, when he came out, he said he holds no resentment. And people said, how can you do that? He said, resentment is like a glass of poison that a man drinks, then sits down and waits for his enemy to die. That's how bad resentment is. That doesn't justify the other's action. It only helps us to look into what we are doing to ourselves. So forgiveness is letting go of anger, letting go of those emotions, and letting go of the past. If we hold on to that past, it destroys our present and also maybe the future that we might have. So this is like unloading, traveling light, getting rid of all the burden, and getting rid of also the desire to punish them and get satisfaction from that punishment. Okay? And so it is really giving up the right to hurt somebody that has hurt you. That is liberation. So forgiveness is the bedrock of spiritual freedom. Okay. So the next verse goes, Santushtaha satatam yogi, ever content. Okay? When one works on these above areas, not hating and friendly and kind to everybody, and being free from this attachment, this world has to make me happy, free from arrogance, being balanced no matter what they face in life, forgiving, what happens? That person is santushta, content. Okay? He's happy, he's in bliss. And this comes from within, not because of the stuff one is collecting from this world. Okay? It is because the sattva guna keeps increasing, keeps us more and more in happiness. Yet, the person continues to participate. The person can be ambitious, can be setting goals, but he has the prasada buddhi. He'll be able to take anything that comes with equanimity. So his happiness does not depend on the interactions and outcomes of those interactions in the world. Always glass is half full is the attitude of this person. And what else is he doing? How is he able to accomplish all these things? Because the Lord says he's a yogi, he's contemplative, he's looking into himself, he's aware of his attitude, his action, his reaction, his emotion. Okay? Aware of this on a regular, constant basis. Looking into this inside and changing it. That is being born again and again, not staying the same person with all this emotional baggage, but becoming a freer person. And he does this with drudha nischaya, firm conviction, and with yatatma, self-control. He does this again and again and again, and looks at the choices. Do I have the choice of staying the same way and suffering, or do I have the choice of making myself less miserable? And this becomes central to his existence, and he does this with his mind and intellect placed in the divinity. In me, Lord Krishna says, and that is in love, in awareness, and life becomes a life of devotion. Love and compassion, becomes central to the person's existence. And this is how a devotee behaves, the Lord says, and he is dear to me. When Krishna says this person is dear to me, does that mean he's partial to the bhaktas and he doesn't care for others? No. It is like sunshine. I have given this example before. Sunshine is there, does not discriminate anybody. If we want to go enjoy the sunshine, it's there for us to go enjoy. If we do not want, that's fine. But when we go in, we are closer, nearer, dearer to the sunshine. That's what Krishna is talking about. It is like a little kid who goes to a park, plays, has fun. But towards the end of the day, whether he wins or loses in the park and the games, kid wants to go home. Similarly, Krishna is saying, participate in this world, interact in this world, but always come home. I'm there for you all the time. That's my presentation.